Welcome to the DC Daily Drop, your one-stop shop for today's important news in DC movies, TV, and comics. Here are your hosts, Tom and Zach.
Welcome to Monday, December 19th edition of the DC Daily Drop. I'm Tom.
And I'm Zach.
Today, we are going to be reviewing Justice League Action. It debuted Friday night in the U.S., new animated show on the Cartoon Network. It debuted with the 4-part Shazam Slam, which I think a lot of the episodes had already aired in the UK and some other locations. But this was the US debut on Friday night, and it's going to be Saturday mornings going forward.
At 7:30.
7:30. So mark your calendars every Saturday. I haven't found another way to watch this other than the Cartoon Network or the Cartoon Network app. If you're, which you need an account that can watch Cartoon Network, so like log in with your TV provider. Mm-hmm. But I haven't seen it listed available anywhere else yet. I would assume that'd be coming, but we'll see. So before we get into it too much here, what's your non-spoiler? I mean, spoilers aren't really important in the show, but what'd you think of it, Zach?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I was kind of excited going into it just because of like the clips we've seen. And I'll say if you liked the clips, you're going to like the show. It definitely lives up to the promise that they made in those clips. And so I really enjoyed it. It's very entertaining. You get to see a whole lot of characters, and we'll talk about that. A lot of humor because it's a kid's show, but they also have a pretty good amount of action and,
a lot of action.
A lot of action. It's in the name. And a pretty decent story, too. I was actually intrigued by the storyline, even though it's really short because, it's like 11-minute episodes, but some of them are carried over, like with the whole Shazam story. So, yeah, I liked it a lot.
Right. I think I am on the same boat with you. It sort of exceeded my expectations. It reminds me sort of Batman the Brave and the Bold, except it seems to, obviously with the Justice League focus and maybe a little bit more in-series continuity, but still not quite to the level of the DC animated universe. But I was really impressed with what I saw so far. I think it was a really good start for the series. It's definitely aimed at kids for action and everything, but like you said, there was enough character moments and action and everything that I think even adults could get something out of it. It's especially fun to see characters that we don't get to see that much.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's so many opportunities to see these lesser known characters and to, give them some room to play around without having to, go and cast somebody. Like in a live action movie, they wouldn't do all of these little characters, but it's great to see them all here in this format.
Right. Or it would take forever to see so many of them.
Exactly.
So many of the characters in live action. And yeah, I think what this is ultimately going to be is like a Cliff Notes version of so many of these characters that if you haven't seen them before or haven't read them in comics before, you can get a quick glimpse of what they are by watching this.
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you think of the animation?
It was really good. Absolutely no complaints. I mean, the characters all look really good. I really like the way Batman looks, actually. I think he's got a pretty cool look to him in this show. And there's a lot of classic looks to the characters, like Martian Manhunter and Green Arrow look like the old school Martian Manhunter and Green Arrow, and they look really awesome. And then we've seen like some clips with Steppenwolf, and it's definitely the old school Steppenwolf, which is cool to see too.
Yeah, and we should note that we don't know if Zach's eyes can be trusted. He was still recovering from surgery when he watched this. So,
yeah, I should say that the animation's a little blurry, but that might have something to do with something else.
Yeah, and I thought the animation was better than I thought from watching the clips. It's a little, I don't know, smoother or I don't know how you would describe it. I prefer like the Young Justice sort of detailed look, but this grew on me and I've come to like it. So, and especially with doing so many characters, you can't have fine details of everything. So I think it's good. I'm used to it already, I think. So I don't think I'll have a problem with it going forward.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of smooth lines. It's almost like if you ever used to watch like Dexter's Lab or Powerpuff Girls, it's very much like that kind of style of animation.
Okay, yeah. I don't know.
Maybe I'm the only person who watched that.
I don't think you are, but I'll take your word for it. So,
there you go.
But so a lot of characters, right?
Oh man, yeah.
How'd you think the characters were portrayed here?
It was great. I think, like, obviously we're not going to get a ton of time with all of them, but they all got their little moments. Like I said, Green Arrow had a lot of time, a lot of funny moments.
Right. In one of those episode 2, I think it was a lot of Green Arrow, and he came back later as well.
Yeah, he's kind of goofy. But, there's just little cameos from it. We get to see Booster Gold. I really liked him. I thought he was funny. We get to see Cyborg for like 25 seconds, but and Martian Manhunter shows up for a minute. It's great to see all of these characters. And they're used, I think they use them very well. They use their abilities and their sense of humor well, I think. And then obviously the main characters, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. There wasn't a ton of Superman, but I'm sure that's just, I think these episodes were more Batman focused.
Right. Well, he got a lot in the...
I guess in Power Outage he did. He got a lot.
Right. The first episode was basically all Batman. And then until, spoilers, the very end, Shazam showed up.
Yeah.
But up until that, Batman was the only Justice League member who appeared. But yeah, I thought all the characters were portrayed pretty well. Pretty comic accurate and everything. For the most part, I think they all came off pretty well. Wonder Woman is really cool, especially in that Parasite, the guy who was revealed to be Parasite fight. Yeah, I think the only thing that sort of took me out of it was the more comedic characters. They were a little over the top, but for the most part, it wasn't too bad. Like villains, especially. I know Black Adam was a little goofy and stuff like that, but for the most part, I found it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and I mean, it is to be expected with a kid show. So I guess, yeah, it is a little goofy, really lighthearted at a lot of points, but I'm okay with it because it's a kid show. Like Booster Gold is absolutely ridiculous, but I like him because I think he's really funny. But he is like totally unbelievable and stupid, but that's okay.
Yeah, and he was one. Other than him, I liked how all the characters were portrayed. I know he was there for comedic effect, but I thought it seemed a little more kiddie for me. It probably would have been more enjoyable if I was watching it with someone in the target age range, but...
Yeah. Jimmy Olsen was pretty funny, too. He was, but like, really ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think, and for the most part, I was really on board with how the characters were portrayed. I think the main Justice League characters had some humor and some fun, but not without being cheesy or anything like that. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman especially were portrayed pretty well.
Yeah, I really liked Wonder Woman in this.
Yeah. So about the story, what'd you think of the story? Was pretty decent?
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't expecting a whole lot from a kid's show, but it was enough to keep me interested, and I was, I wanted to see what was going to happen with the Djinn and Shazam and all of that stuff. I guess spoilers, but that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I liked how it was 4 11-minute episodes. They all could stand on their own.
Yeah.
But yet there was one sort of cohesive story going forward. So I'm hoping there is sort of an ongoing story, ongoing continuity with the show.
Yeah, and when they announced that it was going to be 11-minute episodes, I was thinking like SpongeBob is 11-minute episodes and none of them have anything to do with each other.
Right.
But it's cool to see things from other episodes referenced in it. Like they reference Parasite in a later episode, even though that came in one of the first episodes. So yeah, like you said, it's cool to see that continuity.
Yeah, I'm hoping they stick with that. What is there anything you would do to improve the show? Anything else you would like to see?
I don't know. That's a tough question because, like you said, we're not really the target audience. Like, obviously, I would like it to be, darker or to have more serious stuff. But, the story is pretty serious. Like, they're talking about, like, taking over the world and cleansing it with fire and stuff.
Right.
Which, I mean, I wasn't expecting from a kid show. So, for what it's trying to do, I think it's been pretty spot on so far.
I agree. In terms of improving, maybe have a more serious villain here and there, but I don't have much to complain about. I think it's Justice League action. I think for the most part, they balanced it well with having character moments and everything mixed in with the action. I think the Parasite episode was basically pure action, maybe a little too much, but I think for the most part, they balanced it well. And I'm so glad they've got characters that are targeted at a young audience, but still adults can watch it and it's taking things seriously.
Yeah. And like we've said before, it's a great way to introduce kids to the whole universe of DC characters that they might not know about. And so I think they're doing a great job with that.
I agree. And I think I'm hoping this does well on the series, because Cartoon Network has a history of new DC show that gets really well received, but it gets canceled after a season or two. So hoping this sort of bucks the trend.
Yeah. So
anything else you'd like to add about it?
I just wrote down some of the funnier things that happened that I really enjoyed. One of the great things was Constantine when they brought him in, and had got hit with an accenter or something. Like, it's something that made his accent really bad. Right. And so you couldn't understand anything he was saying, and he was using a bunch of slang, and that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and how cool was it to see Constantine and Swamp Thing and mixing them right in the House of Mysteries and everything like that. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was insane. And Mark Hamill is Swamp Thing, and so it's just great hearing his voice, and I'm sure we'll pick him up multiple times throughout the series.
Yeah, I would guess he'd be playing more characters coming up.
Yep. And then Jimmy Olsen had a really funny moment where he's filming Wonder Woman and Superman fighting, and they're not fighting each other, but he's like, is this worth it? I'm risking my life for this fleeting fame on the internet. And he sees all the views, the number of views ticking up, and he's like, oh yeah, totally worth it.
Yep. That was pretty good.
There's a lot of good funny moments like that.
Different Jimmy from Supergirl, I would say.
Oh, just a little bit.
This one does not seem like he'll be Guardian anytime soon.
I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out completely, but probably not. And then, like I said, I enjoyed Booster Gold, him fighting with Batman, going back and looking at the tapes of him just getting beat up,
knocked out with one punch every time.
Yeah, and then the Hall of Justice getting destroyed. That part's not cool, but then they build Watchtower, and it looks pretty cool in the show. And it's every time I watch animation, that's something that I always like, is that they can make things look as cool as they want them to, and it doesn't really change the budget. So right. Watchtower looks really super impressive. It's this giant 3D globe on top of a volcano.
Yeah.
So
and they had good detail in the Hall of Justice too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I thought there's tons of Easter eggs in here. We won't cover all of them, but there was definitely a handful if you kept your eye out. And there's even more. It looks like in the incoming episodes, there was one. It looks like in a video game world, Superman throws the cellophane S from Superman 2 when he defeats Zod. And Cyborg's like, what? That's not one of Superman's powers. But they found a way to do it because it's within a video game world. That's awesome. Just really funny. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And there's an episode coming up soon that's going to have Joker, and Mark Hamill is going to be doing Joker. So I'm excited to see that too.
Oh yeah. Hopefully they mix him in quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see everyone that's involved. I'm particularly excited about the Steppenwolf episode to see how they work him in, what his story is and everything. But just all these characters, seeing these characters brought to animation, it's going to be pretty fun to see them all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for today. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow.
Thanks for listening, and make sure to check out DC Daily Drop on Twitter, Facebook, and DCDailyDrop.com. Drop by tomorrow for more DC news.